Hello and welcome to This Really Happened, a place where unbelievable, heart-touching true stories come to life. Sometimes surprising, sometimes bittersweet, always real. Grab a drink and settle in. We're about to begin. If only he survives, if only he survives, Eleanor prayed silently, rushing to the hospital. A call from work interrupted her ordinary day, bringing the news that her only son, her Andy, was now there, between life and death. Andrew was on a school trip when their minibus was suddenly hit by a truck. Almost all the children escaped with a fright, but Andrew and one other girl were injured. The teacher said Andrew was the most severely hurt. Eleanor flew up the stairs to the third floor, where lives were being fought for behind the doors of the intensive care unit. Only now, standing before these doors, did she realize she hadn't called her husband. Will, can you hear me? Andy's in intensive care. A truck hit the minibus. Come immediately to City Hospital 5. I'm on the third floor. William, dropping everything, rushed to the hospital. Unexpectedly, moments related to waiting for their son surfaced in his memory. 17 years of marriage with Ellie, 8 years of hope, and here he was, their 9-year-old miracle. He remembered holding tiny Andy in his arms for the first time, walking with the stroller in the park, teaching him to pedal a bicycle. Tears rolled down his cheeks of their own accord. He imagined how agonizing it must be for Ellie right now, and tried with all his might to compose himself, to be a support for her, not another source of pain. Pulling up to the hospital, he glanced in the mirror. He seemed to be holding it together. Ellie sat in the corridor by the intensive care doors, hunched over, quietly sobbing. It seemed her strength for loud crying had run out. Seeing her husband, she jumped up from the chair and rushed towards him. Will, they still haven't said anything. I don't understand why. Calm down, Ellie. They'll tell us. We need to wait. Everything will be all right. It has to be. Half an hour stretched into an eternity. Finally, a doctor came out. Are you the boys' parents? Yes, came the answer in unison. I have 2 pieces of news for you. First, your son will live. Second, he is in a coma. How long this state will last, I cannot say, but we are doing everything possible. The head injury is very serious. It's difficult now to make any predictions about his future. But overall, let's be patient and wait. The sooner he comes out of the coma, the better. William pulled the doctor aside. Tell me, doctor, maybe something is needed? Medications, special supplies, name it. We'll find everything. Buy everything. No, that won't help here. What's needed now is prayer, faith, and waiting. You can go home today. They won't let you see him anyway. Come back tomorrow. However much Eleanor pleaded, the doctor was firm. You cannot see your son, period. They went home. The next morning, as soon as it was light, the parents were already at the hospital. They hadn't managed to get any real sleep. All their thoughts revolved around their child. William found the doctor and asked about Andrew's condition. The readings are stable, but he hasn't regained consciousness. Today, you can be by his side and even stay overnight. And my advice to you, based on experience, talk to him as much as possible. Patients who have come out of comas often say they heard the voices of loved ones and moved towards them. William turned to his wife. Why don't you go home, rest a little, change, and come back for the night? I'll stay with him for now. And don't argue, you need to get at least a little sleep. Eleanor looked at her husband with such surprise, as if seeing him for the first time. Do you seriously think I can sleep, knowing what state my child is in right now? I won't take a single step from here until the situation is clear. And don't ask, and don't try to persuade me. Go home yourself, bring me some comfortable clothes, and I'll stay with Andy. William knew his wife's stubborn nature perfectly well and understood that any persuasion was useless. He went home alone to change and get everything Eleanor needed. Ellie sat by her son's bedside, clutching his hand and weeping. How much she had gone through for this happiness. Endless tests, analyses, exhausting treatment that seemed unending. And then, finally, a miracle happened. She got pregnant. A very difficult pregnancy, almost half a year on bed rest in the hospital, agonizing labour. But it was all for a reason, all for the sake of becoming truly happy. And now her happiness lay here, and nothing depended on her. This feeling of despair squeezed her chest. She wanted to scream, to howl with pain, but she couldn't allow herself to do that here, within the hospital walls. Somehow, gathering the last of her strength, she remembered the doctor's words. Talk to him more. And she decided to talk to her son. She recalled funny stories from his very early childhood, told him where they had travelled, what they had seen. Everything that came to mind at that moment she recounted to him. 4 days passed. Andrew's condition remained unchanged. His readings were stable, but there were no signs of waking up. Ellie hadn't slept for 4 days. Her strength was running out. Her husband's and the doctor's pleas to get at least a little sleep had no effect. I won't leave here and I won't sleep until my son comes to. What if I fall asleep and he calls for me and I'm not there? No, no, and no again. Don't even ask. But the body's resources are not limitless. Ellie dozed off right there on the chair by her son's bed. She had an incredibly vivid, beautiful dream. She was walking with Andy in the park with a dog. Andy was walking slowly, leaning on a stick, and the dog was running around him. Ellie opened her eyes. What a realistic dream, she thought. Son, my darling, come back to us. We love you very much and are waiting. You know, I had such a wonderful dream. You and I were walking in the park with a dog. He's still small, black, a Labrador, I think. I know you really want a dog. As soon as you get better, as soon as you're discharged, we'll definitely buy you a puppy. You know, I had a dog when I was a child. I loved playing with her so much. She was my best friend. And you'll have a dog. You'll run with her, play ball. She'll sleep with you in your room. A dog is such joy and happiness. We'll even let you and Dad choose the breed yourself. Whichever one you want, that's the one we'll buy. Just come back. She cried. In that moment, she was ready to give anything in the world just to hear his voice again and see him laughing. Mom took her son's hand and suddenly felt a responsive touch. Maybe I'm going crazy, the thought flashed through her mind. At that moment, Will called, and Ellie, rambling, told him what she thought she had felt, that her son had slightly squeezed her hand. Ellie, my darling, I understand how much you want and are waiting for this, but the doctor says there's no change yet. We need to wait. Ellie understood this herself, but hope did not fade. She picked up a book and decided to read to her son for a bit. And suddenly she saw Andrew move his hand. Now she saw it completely clearly. Ellie rushed to get the doctor. The doctor's examination upset her. This happens. It's a reflex, a muscle contraction. It could be anything, but it's not waking up. We'll wait. Eleanor slumped. She wanted so much to believe in a miracle. In the evening, William arrived to support his wife and spend time with his son. They sat together by the bed, talking quietly, recalling some touching moments. Suddenly they heard, "Mom, Mommy." Ellie started in surprise, looked at her husband and understood. He had heard it too. She grabbed her son's hand. "Son! Sonny! I'm here! Mom's with you!" Andrew slightly opened his eyes and slowly shifted his gaze from his mother to his father. "Dad," he whispered, barely audibly. The parents cried. Miracles do exist after all. William ran to get the doctor. Doctors rushed in, filling half the room. They examined something, checked, measured, and asked the parents to leave. An hour later, after many procedures, the doctor called them over. "You know, this is truly some kind of miracle. Your son is in very satisfactory condition. There are minor issues with his leg, but that will recover. It's just a matter of time." I was much more concerned about the state of his brain. Tomorrow we will conduct a full examination and then make a final decision. But even now I can say that nothing threatens his full recovery. For now, you can go back to him. Andrew recovered remarkably quickly. He was discharged home a week later. He still had physical therapy and medication ahead, but that could be done at home. Finally, they returned to their own walls. In the evening, over a celebratory dinner, the family discussed where to go on vacation once Andrew had fully recovered. But Andrew seemed not overly interested in the question. He was lost in thought. His father couldn't help but ask, "Son, is something wrong? Are you not feeling well? Why are you so quiet?" "Dad, when are we going to get the dog?" "What dog?" his father asked, genuinely surprised. "Mom said we would buy a dog." Understanding nothing, William called, "Ellie, come here, please." "What's wrong?" Mom asked, surprised. "Please tell me, when did we decide to buy a dog? I don't remember such a conversation. Andy says you said that." Eleanor looked from her husband to her son in surprise, and then she cried. "I said that when Andy was in a coma. I just had a dream that we had a dog and we were walking with her in the park. So I suggested to Andy that we buy a puppy." "Oh, Dad, please, let's get a dog. Please, dear Daddy, please. I really want a dog, a living, real one." Now it was Dad's turn to be surprised. He had absolutely not expected such a turn. He had always been against having animals in the house, but now, it seemed, he would have to give in. "And what kind of dog do you want?" "A Labrador, a black boy, please." Tears streamed from his son's eyes again. His father, though known for being strict, didn't have a heart of stone. Looking at the tears of his son, who had so recently balanced on the edge, he decided to surrender. "All right, just one condition," said his father. Andrew tensed his whole body, looking at his father eagerly. Ellie also waited with dread for some ridiculous conditions. But Dad surprised everyone. "We'll buy a black Labrador puppy, but—" He paused, looking at his family with a smile. "Only with papers." "Hooray! I'm going to have a dog!" Now Andy was crying with happiness, and so was his mum, who also adored dogs. "Daddy, you're the best. Thank you." When his father left the room, Andrew turned to his mum and quietly whispered, "Mommy, thank you. I know if it wasn't for you, I would never have a dog." Eleanor went to her son, hugged him tightly and kissed him. "It's okay, son. I know what it means to dream of a dog." 2 weeks were spent searching for a puppy. It turned out finding a black male Labrador wasn't an easy task. There were many females, but males were booked even before birth, with people getting on waiting lists. But finally, they found one. Out of 3 puppies, Andrew chose one, the most thoughtful-looking one. "Why did you choose this particular puppy? Look, the others are more playful and cheerful," his father asked. "No, this one is mine. He's so sad. And you know why? Because he doesn't have a real friend. He's waiting for me. This is my puppy, Daddy. I saw him in my dream and even thought of a name for him already. Buddy." There was no arguing against such points, and they agreed they would take this particular sad black little one. They were supposed to pick up the puppy on Thursday. His father left work early. He had planned to pick up his wife and son after work to go get the puppy together, but decided to surprise his son and pick up the puppy himself so he could arrive home with him. All day, Andrew and his mom prepared for the arrival of the new family member. They went to the pet store and bought everything needed: bowls, food, toys, a mat, pads, a leash. Closer to evening, they got dressed and waited for their father. Suddenly the doorbell rang. "I wonder who that is?" Mom asked, surprised. "Mom, I'll get it." Andrew threw open the door. His father stood on the doorstep. In his hands, he held a black bundle of happiness. "Here you go, son. This is your buddy. Sorry I went to get him myself. I just really wanted you two to meet sooner." He handed the puppy to his son. Andrew took him into his arms, and Buddy immediately started licking him. "Mommy, Mommy, look, he recognized me right away," Andy shouted throughout the apartment and cried. "I can't believe I have a dog. No, not a dog, but the best friend. Parents, I love you very much." And he ran off with Buddy to introduce his new friend to their room.